Hi there, I'm Michelle and welcome back to the Canadian History, a Chronology channel. Today's episode, number 18, puts us at the start of the fall of New France. This is a critical and turbulent time for Canada. It'll define the future of the new country, the fate of Canada. And it's also when it gets real. I'm trying to be polite here, but this is when the excrement hits the rotary oscillators. Okay. Now let's start off part one with Acadia. Almost right after the French signed the peace treaty with the Iroquois, ending the Iroquois Wars in 1701, they almost immediately entered into conflict with the English. Called the Queen Anne's War, it started in 1702 and would last 11 years. Unfortunately, due to geography, Acadia and the Acadians were an easy target. They guarded the entrance to the St. Lawrence River and the interior of Canada, not with force, but with geography. Acadia was a strategic location for any attackers. One of the first to attack for the English was Colonel Benjamin Church in 1704 and again in 1705. Church had actually been raiding Acadia since 1696 and would raid and pillage at least 5 times. Church was fierce and sadistic. He killed prisoners, flooded fields, stole and burned homes. He even wrote in his journal that he killed family pets. The Acadian governor, Daniel de Subercase, pleaded for help from France, but none came. The colony of Port Royal finally fell to the English in October of 1710 with the surrender of Subercase. The flag that flew over Port Royal had changed so often over the years that the Acadians often wondered who was in charge. But this time was different. It would be forever. Oddly enough, the terms of Subercase's surrender didn't include all of Acadia, but just Port Royal. But the near future would change all of that. Acadia would not finally fall by battle, but by treaty. But for the time being, the Acadians were not the best subjects. They were uncooperative and refused to pay their taxes. They joined with French and native Mi'kmaq allies and attacked the English. At this time, the Englishman, Francis Nicholson, renamed Port Royal to Fort Anne to honor his queen, Queen Anne, and the community surrounding the fort became Annapolis Royal. Nicholson sent the captured French troops home and then left the garrison in the hands of Samuel Vetch. With a lack of tax dollars coming in and a heavily damaged fort from the bombardments, Vetch's soldiers began to desert. So what could Vetch do? Well, he brought in 100 Iroquois mercenaries to fight the Acadians and their Mi'kmaq allies. The Iroquois were feared, and as a result, the Mi'kmaq resistance faltered. Before moving on, I just want to clarify a point. France's North American colonies were referred to as 2 separate entities. Canada, which was the St. Lawrence heartland, and Acadia, which was the maritime region. This is important as it'll lead to confusion later on as territories change hands. Okay, now with that point cleared up, next comes the 1730 Treaty of Utrecht. The end of the war came with the French King Louis XIV conceding a lot of territory. France had to give up its claims to both the Hudson's Bay and Newfoundland, with the French keeping some fishing rights off the North Shore. The interesting part of the treaty says, quote, all of Acadia comprised in its ancient limits, end quote. That's the catch. Where were Acadia's ancient limits? The maps of the day were pretty vague with outlines and borders and even place names, so who held what? The French insisted that only the peninsula of Nova Scotia had been conceded and kept possession of both Ile Royale, Cape Breton, and Ile Saint-Jean, Prince Edward Island. They also claimed at what is now the coast of New Brunswick. In effect, this surrounded the British in Acadia on 3 sides. But in spite of the mess, the Treaty of Utrecht brought 30 years of relative peace to the region. Well, that's it for the short history of the fall of New France, Part 1. In summary, we learned that the French surrender of Port Royal would lead to the Treaty of Utrecht, and that the treaty was not very clear on who owned what now. So please stay tuned for the next episode, episode 19, The Fall of New France, Part 2, where we delve into the building of the fortress and community of Louisbourg, Cape Breton, by the French. Now remember, at any time, feel free to leave comments or questions below, and I'll do my best to respond to them all. And please, be a true Canadian and be polite. And if you like this content, please subscribe to my channel. Give it a thumbs up. And hit the bell if you'd like to be notified of any new content. Thanks everyone, and have a great day.